Like, these people who think like they are the good advocates for Palestine and I'm the bad one, I'd like to offer them a challenge. We go together to Palestine. We stand beside each other in a room. We invite a bunch of Palestinians and we state our opinions to them. And we see who gets beat up. We see who gets kicked in the fucking head. It's not going to be me. It's going to be you, okay? You tell Palestinians, oh, you can't return to your homes. Well, who do you think they're going to support? Me or you? You tell Palestinians, oh, we can't have a one-state solution because then the racial quantum of the Israeli state would be diluted. Who do you think is going to get beat up? Is it me or you? Like, these people try to frame themselves as the reasonable, good advocates for the Palestinian cause when they advocate for literally the exact opposite of what Palestinians want, what Palestinians are willing to fight for. I'll tell you right now, if I said all of my opinions verbatim to a crowd of Palestinians, they'd go fucking wild. They would not fucking go wild for the guy who doesn't want to call Israelis occupiers because that's not nice. Because they're not guilty of what their parents did. That's not very nice. Palestinians call Israelis occupiers all the time. They say death to the occupiers. When Palestinians say occupied, they don't just refer to the fucking West Bank, okay? Like, the people who claim to be advocates for Palestine are tone polices of Palestinians. They aren't advocates at all. An advocate for Palestine doesn't try to tell them what to do. Like, he doesn't pretend to be like a white savior telling the uncivilized colonized people the best way to fight colonization. A good advocate for Palestine lets Palestinians lead and he follows them and fights for whatever Palestinians think is what they are willing to fight for. If they want to give up and compromise, we'll give up and compromise. If they want to keep fighting until they get the best possible outcome, we'll keep fighting until they get the best possible outcome. Because the fact of the matter is that the Palestinians are in the moral right here, no matter how you look at it. So whatever way they want to reclaim their lost territory, wherever they set the bar for compromise, that is the bar that we're aiming for. You don't get to police them and be like, that's a bit problematic. It's a bit anti-Semitic that you want to get your home back that was stolen from your family. It's a bit anti-Semitic that you should have the right of return. You're not as worthy of the right of return as a random Jew from New York who's never been to Palestine before or Israel. He's allowed to return, but you're not. I'm sorry. Give me a fucking break. Like, honestly, let's do it. Let's go to Palestine. I mean, Israel wouldn't let me in for one, but we can arrange something. You know, let's see. Whose opinion do the Palestinians like better? People who say Palestinians can't return, we need an Israeli ethno-state, denouncing Israel as a settler colonial project is anti-Semitic, or someone who says the exact opposite of all of those things. I wonder who. Like, they already know the answer, right? There's a very good video of an Israeli anti-colonial activist, and he says exactly what I said here. This guy.
I was detained for just short of 2 months after a right-wing group filed charges against me for participating in demonstrations. They framed it as assaulting soldiers and police officers.
You see, what this guy does is he's an Israeli, and he goes to Palestinian protests, Palestinian actions, and he participates with them. He doesn't tell them what to do. He doesn't tell them what they should aim for, what they should demand. He just participates. That's how you help Palestine. You do what Palestinians want you to do. You help them to achieve their goals. You don't tell them what their goals should be. You don't tell them, your goal is impossible because if 6 million Palestinians teleported to Israel right now, it wouldn't work out very well. Like he says at the end here.
Return of the refugees, of course, is one democratic state with measures for decolonialism, including a return of the refugees, of course.
A return of the refugees. Right of return. This is a good advocate for Palestine. He's a settler in Israel and he's still advocating for Palestine. It's not fucking hard.
Of course, land reforms, everything around.
Land reform, right of return, decolonized one state. If you're against this, you are a right-winger. It's that fucking simple because functionally your beliefs align with the right wing.
That, I don't think we can just say, okay, we stop here and the situation stays as it is. And we call it quits. We have 100 years of injustice to amend. But again, this is a colonialist situation, and how to decolonialize is a Palestinian decision.
Exactly.
That I can only take part in, not lead.
Israel, in a few words.
That fucking difficult to understand, guys? Can white people not center themselves as the arbiters of how Palestinians should resist for once? Of how anyone should resist? When it comes to Palestine, I follow Palestinians, I don't lead. Palestinians know that they live in a settler colonial state. They've been saying it since the beginning. It's not their fault if you're so fucking ignorant that you don't understand that. Palestinians think that their whole lands are occupied. Palestinians think that all Israelis are colonists. Palestinians want the right of return for all refugees. It's so fucking simple. But I mean, it's not surprising at all that people who are so vehemently against decolonization in their own countries are also against decolonization in another country, because they know that if it happens in Israel, Palestine, it could happen to their country too. They want to keep the privileges that they get from upholding their settler colonial and colonial states.